Namaskar, Dadaji.
Namaskar. My name is Dada Acyuta'nanda.
So tell us, Dadaji, what got you into Ananda Marga, got you initiated?
I was expecting that question. It usually comes up in your interviews, and thinking about it, I started writing something. So, what I'd like to do is read something that will take about 7 minutes and then just speak extemporaneously.
Okay.
I am 10 months, 1 week old. I wake up. The room is dim. Mommy is not there. Daddy is not there. Larry is not there. No one will ever be there because they don't care. I cannot cry. It's all too horrible, horrifying. I knot up from the horror. I cannot cry because I am scaredy. It must have been something like that. And how did I get to be a scaredy and fearful baby in the first place? The answer lies long ago. A quote, time older than the time of chronometers. Another quote, and with strange eons, even death may die. When I lived on a tree branch and was covered with hair, even then I was scaredy. It goes back to the Big Bang, but the farther back, the harder it is to remember. Mommy has finally come, but she's not nice enough. I've got to make her nice. She forgot me. I've got to change everybody and make them nice. They're not nice enough. They let that horror in. They didn't take care of me. They were supposed to, and they didn't. And now I'm 23. It's the summer of 1969. I'm living in Berkeley, California. It's a wonderful world with sunshine and food stamps, music and marijuana. People like me, but in some social situations, I knot up and turn red. I've been discerning, though, that no situation really has to be like that, and that I can have the wonderful world without any of that scared nonsense. I start reading up on psychology, led sometimes toward some obscure sources like Otto Rank. Less obscure was Wilhelm Reich. Both started out as disciples of Freud. Later, I will read Fritz Perls and try his methods. A part of my culture at that time was the Berkeley Free University. One of their offerings was a class in yoga, which turned out to be taught by one Sri Jaya, teaching yoga in San Francisco, affiliated with the Ramakrishna Institute. Yoga sounded like a good thing, but a thing that I did not at first connect with work on the mind. Later, the meditation part of yoga and Western psychotherapy were to converge for me. I remember when meditation first clicked in Eugene, Oregon. Sri Jaya had taught us to meditate by concentrating our gaze on a candle flame. We could let the mind move, but only move toward the color of the flame or the motion of the flame or the size of the flame, only the flame. Of course, other thoughts would come in. And one day, what came in was thoughts of a few friends I had made there in Eugene, with whom there were already some unhappy interpersonal dramas going on. But now the images of those people remained on the periphery of my mental plate. They were going through their dramas with me, but the flame was still there at the center. My mind was steady. Now I had an inner place I could always go to. I had discovered a womb with a view. I liked it. I had a part-time job in Eugene repairing bicycles. Later, I got a more rugged job planting trees. I did some drifting around. Eugene, Palo Alto, Oaxaca, back to Eugene. In Palo Alto in the summer of 1970, I found other people who were working on themselves, using methods that had migrated up from the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, based on a developmental philosophy similar to Wilhelm Reich's. Gestalt therapy and a kind of psychodrama and bioenergetics and Rolfing. I stopped meditating for a while. Then we all read a new book, The Primal Scream. Some of us decided that the methods we had been using had just been scratching the surface. Back in Eugene, I tried to use that therapy on myself, but couldn't find the right key. I was finally to try many years later with more success. My attempts at primaling left me with a new appreciation for the peace and expansion I had earlier found in meditation. So I turned back to meditation, thinking too that it would accomplish the work of primal therapy, even if much more slowly, and would expand me as well in dimensions that primal therapy would not. I tried Kundalini yoga. I went to see Swami Muktananda appearing with Ram Dass. I saw the Hare Krishna guru a few times, but I felt most affinity with Swami Sachidananda. I was meditating regularly using his general mantra, thinking Om as I inhaled and Shanti as I exhaled. This whole time I was an atheist, but I had become convinced that happiness could only be achieved by freeing one's mind. Later, I learned enough about Buddhism to understand that the Buddha had said it. It seemed possible to live without fear or inhibition. One day in May 1972, the Eugene Register Guard announced a lecture by an Anandamarga teacher who turned out to be Acharya Dharmendra Rao, an employee of the Indian Ministry of Agriculture. He later planted Baba's rose garden at Baba's quarters at Anandanagar. Now, this is the 78-year-old Dada Acyuta'nanda speaking in the present, not reading.
So you got initiated,
Hmm.
and how long before you met Baba, and what happened there?
I first went to India just 3 years after that. That was when Baba was in jail. It was shortly before the emergency started. And of course, my first thought was always trying to see Baba, but virtually no foreigners were being allowed to see Baba in jail before the emergency.
What year did you get
I think
initiated?
1972.
Okay. Okay, so you couldn't see Baba initially.
Yeah, and that became a major frustration. I couldn't see him initially, and uh, then the emergency came. I went up to Nepal. I went for training in Sweden and was posted in Taiwan. And then about my 5th month in Taiwan, the emergency ended, and I was called back to India to continue the same work that I had been doing there before the emergency as an LFT. And that work was um, really the same work I'm doing now, publications, except also uh, assisting the office secretary, who was the same person as the publication secretary, Dada Pranavananda. And then uh, I talked about frustrating. Then after the emergency, the other new Dadas from my training batch and Margies from New York sector that I had known were all uh, coming to see Baba in jail, and they would come through Kolkata, and we would talk a little bit, and they would go see Baba in Patna. After the emergency, of course, he was still in jail, and uh, because I had somehow been identified on my uh, previous trip to India when I was an LFT before the emergency, my name was on the blacklist, and there's most people's weren't. So they would come back from Patna and tell me about their wonderful experience with Baba, and uh, and then uh, finally Baba was released from jail. Uh, what I'd been dreaming about. But at that time, I was in jail. I was in jail for 6 weeks on a visa case,
I know the
white
feeling.
collar crime. What's that?
I know the feeling.
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay. Uh, so so yeah, August 3rd, I guess it was the day after Baba was released. Um, I was reading the Kolkata newspaper there in jail, and there was a photo of him coming out of the jail, and all my friends being there to greet him, and I didn't know when I would get out, but fortunately, Dada Pranavananda, uh, soon thereafter, well, it was almost a month thereafter, got me out on bail. And so then I was ready to go see Baba for the first time. And it looked like there wouldn't be any hitch this time. First saw Baba, and that was the evening of September 5th. I had just reached Putney on the train and went first to what was a rented place called the Jagrati, and they told me, oh, everybody's gone to Baba's quarters. So I somehow got to Baba's quarters, and he was already giving darshan, so they didn't want to let anybody in the gate. But Dada Acyuta'nanda of VSS was in charge at the gate, and I said, Dada, I've been trying to see Baba for so many years. I've been so frustrated. Okay, let me. So then I just approached quietly the veranda where he was sitting in his wheelchair talking, and from a little distance did sastang pranam, and then sat down. And at some point after the darshan, he asked me my name, and I told him my name, which was then Acharya Amitabha Brahmachari, and there was a little bit of talk about that. So that was my first sight of Baba and first little bit of communication.
What was the feeling like when you were with Baba and seeing him for the first time? Did he seem anything special, or just another person, or did he meet your expectations?
Oh, well, the first thing that comes to mind is an honest answer, and that is that when started approaching, seeing him from a distance, he looked a lot like the Hare Krishna guru who I had seen a couple of times.
Baba Bhatt.
Remember about I don't think there was really much resemblance, but remember Baba was pretty emaciated at that time. That
Mm.
had something to do with it, and and I think I would have to say that my feeling was mostly of relief
Finally.
because I had just thought specifically I had feared that either I would be staying in jail for a long time, or that when they let me out they would deport me, and it wasn't so easy to get back to India in those days. Hard to raise money and everything. So it was a, a big relief
Mm.
to be doing what I had tried to be doing for such a long time.
So after that meeting, were there any other ones that memorable experiences that you had with Baba?
Well, the one that I would like to talk about was uh, just at that time the my PC with Baba, which was the next morning after meeting him,
Hmm.
and to uh, make this meaningful, now I have to go back to September 4th, evening of September 4th in Kolkata, uh, the evening before I traveled to Patna. And as I said, there been the whole time that after the emergency, there had been uh, foreigners, Westerners coming through Kolkata, going to see Baba and Patna, which I couldn't do, and then coming back and telling their stories. So on that particular evening, there happened to be a Scottish brother who had just come from Patna, a brother named Jaydev, and he was uh, talking about his experiences during he'd had personal contact and talking about his experiences, and Baba was reading his mind the whole time, and he said that at the end of his PC, he had asked Baba, uh, Baba, can I massage your feet? And Baba had let him do that, and and I thought I want to do that when I my PC, which is coming up, and the funny thing about that was that I didn't have any real feeling about the guru's feet. I had read something about the guru's feet in, I don't know, the u- usual things I had been reading, Yogananda, autobiography of a yogi, and things like this. So I had this uh, knowledge that uh, the guru's feet, touching the guru's feet, was somehow uh, very important, but I didn't have any feeling about it. So wanting to massage his feet, um, I mean, after all, Jaydev had done it. Why shouldn't I? Was uh, spiritual materialism. It wasn't real spirituality. It was it was a kind of scorecard, spirituality, spiritual experiences as a scorecard. And so it was in that frame of mind that I went in for my PC, and um, so I did. Baba was lying on his right side on a cot because he was still pretty weak, and I did Sastang Pranam and then sat or kneeled. I think I kneeled in front of him, just very close to his face. And at that time, one of his eyes was still in very bad shape from the condition he had been in jail, and I think it was his right eye, so it was his left eye that was up, and I was looking in that. And there were uh, a number of things worth talking about in that PC, but I will get to the end of it. Baba said he had come to know that I spoke a little bit of Bengali, so he said, "Kaj Koro, go to work." So that was okay. So that was signaling the end of the PC, and um, I I didn't forget. I said, uh, "Baba, can I massage your feet for a minute?" And he looked at me, maybe sat up a little. He looked at me like he had never been so surprised. And he said, "What for?" And I wasn't prepared for that because, um, as I said, I didn't really know. I didn't have any heartfelt feeling as to what it was all about. And so I just said, "Oh, well, Baba, if it will please you, I'd like to do it." And then he sat up a little bit more and he patted me on the cheek and he said, "Massage complete." So uh, I I did not I did not get to
Massage.
massage Baba uh, as Dave had, as so many daughters had. But if we're talking about keeping score, not many people had Baba massage them. That was
No,
uh,
their cheeks.
something nice.
Very nice. So, Dadaji, what are you doing now?
My title is Translations in Charge, Central Translations in Charge. It has been for a long time in Publications Department. And the job description, as given by Baba, doesn't actually even focus on translations into English. The job description is simply to get all our important and unimportant books translated into all the important and unimportant languages of the world. Uh, so, so that is my job, and if there are 270 Baba books and let's say about 300 languages of the world, then I think that's 72,000 books that I'm supposed to bring out.
That should keep you
Uh,
busy.
but but um, but in fact, the big majority of my time has been spent just on English translations or books coming books which of discourses that Baba gave in English, so coming out originally in English, and
Are
much
there
less
any
of my time.
are there any
Excuse me.
new exciting translations coming out that you can tell us that you're working on?
One that I did not work on, and and I periodically send out something I call the translations news, giving updates of new books, and the last one that I reported in one of those was Ananda Avt 15 and 16, English translation from the uh, from the Bengali part 15 and the Hindi part 16.
Right.
And all the English translations that I've worked on over the years, I have finalized. I mean, with the approval of the publication secretary, of course, but I did the final work on all of them. But I didn't do any of them from scratch. It was always, if not the publication secretary, then somebody else, maybe uh, uh, dictating the first draft of it to me, and then I would work on it, or uh, a, a few people might be involved, and I would be provided with a draft which I would work on. So Ananda Avt 15 and 16 were like that, and only one book has come out in English since then, which I did not work on, and that is Ideal Farming. And Ideal Farming Part 2 has been in English since Baba's time,
Mm.
but Ideal Farming Part 1 and Part 3 had never come out in English before, and,
Oh,
and they'd been in Bengali. So that book is now available.
cool.
And what I'm working on right now, though, is not any uh, new translation. It is two things. One is there are quite a few English translations that have been printed, but English books that have been printed, but that have not yet been included in the electronic edition. And including them, uh, converting the format for the electronic edition is a time-consuming job for reasons that are hard to explain, but it is. So there's a backlog of those books, and I'm working on that right now. Working on uh, Subhashita Sangraha Part 6, and also thinking, as I've been thinking for a long time, that just because I've been doing this job for a long time, not because of any particular talents or qualifications of mine, but just because I've been there for a long time, I have a lot of information, including information about all the materials in my office, uh, in Tildula, books and papers and everything on the
Right.
hard disk of the computer and external drive. So I'm been working trying to organize that so that it's more self-explanatory, so that somebody taking over for me would be able to keep going without losing a lot of
Right.
knowledge about the subject.
Well, thank you very much, Dadaji, for all of that. That was very interesting and inspiring. Namaskar.
Namaskar.